Good evening and welcome to the Candidates Forum presented by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County. My name is Valerie Nelson and I am Vice President of Voter Service of our chapter's League of Women Voters. Tonight, we welcome the candidates running for City of Westland Mayor. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate running for any office. The League does take positions on issues after careful study, so you may see our name attached to an issue that we are advocating for or opposing. Membership in the League is open to all citizens who are at least 16 years old, so if you're interested in joining this public service organization, please let us know. Membership applications are available on our website, lwvnorthwestwayne.org. The League's main mission is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government. One of the ways we do that is by having forums such as this one tonight. The League has also prepared a nonpartisan voter guide, which can be found online at www.vote411.org. By typing in your voting address, you can view the races on your ballot and the candidates' responses to questions posed by the League. You can also find the link to the voter guide on our website, again, lwvnorthwestwayne.org. Citizens who are not yet registered to vote can do so through Election Day. However, citizens must register in person at the Westland City Clerk's office if they're registering less than 15 days before the election. Also, anyone can now request an absentee ballot for any reason, and using that absentee ballot can vote by mail or in person at the clerk's office before 8 p.m. on Election Day. A mailed-in absentee ballot must be received by the clerk before 5 p.m. on the Friday before Election Day. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not of the League of Women Voters. I'd like to introduce you now to the League of Women Voters of Michigan co-president and our moderator for tonight, Paula Bowman, who will provide you with more details about tonight's forum.
Thanks, Val. Hello, everyone. We're so glad that all four candidates running for Westland Mayor could be with us tonight. As you all know, the two candidates that received the most votes in the August primary will be on the ballot at the November election. Holding a candidates forum by Zoom poses challenges different from an in-person forum. Only League personnel and the candidates are present on the screen tonight at this forum. We did solicit questions from the public in advance so that we could ask them at tonight's forum. Questions were screened for clarity, and those which included personal attacks on a candidate were certainly eliminated. As Val mentioned, the views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not the League of Women Voters. All the candidates have agreed to the format for tonight's forum, which is as follows. Each candidate is allowed a 2-minute opening statement, a 2-minute response to each question, and a 2-minute closing statement. The order that the candidates speak was determined by a random selection process witnessed by the candidates before the recording of this forum began. We will rotate the order of the candidate who responds to a question first. As we mentioned too, League member Valerie Nelson is recording this forum. Carrie Moon Dupree, our president, is our timer. She'll be holding up the cards so that the candidates know when their time is up. The candidate must stop when the stop sign appears. And now we're going to get started. Let's begin with our opening statement. Mr. Pruett, you chose the first slot, so let's have you start with your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you, Women League of Voters, for hosting this candidate forum. And thank you, Westland, for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I am Edward M. Pruett III, And I'm a father, I'm a business owner, and a pastor. I am asking for your vote to be your next mayor because Westland needs a change. Change is needed right now, and I am the right candidate to see it through. With 20 years of leadership and operations experience and a heart for the people, a heart for you, successful, long-term, and sustainable change will occur. For too long, you have not been heard and have not been included. We must change that. And this is the time to do it. No government can be successful without the people. We must have a government for the people, by the people, and with the people. I am committed to ensuring that your voice is heard, that you are respected, and that you are included. We must have a government that is fiscally responsible, managing the finances responsibly. We must have a government that is truly open and transparent. We must have a government that focuses on the interests of the community, putting the interests of the community first and only. We cannot afford to have personal agendas and political ambitions muddying the waters any longer. You come first, and it is important that you have a mayor that recognizes that and lives by it. We must have a government that protects your human and civil rights, and no longer can we accept a government that treads upon these. When you elect me as your next mayor, you will get a mayor that respects you, includes you, and puts you first. And an administration that is fiscally responsible, protects your rights, elevates transparency, accessibility, and accountability, and you get your government back. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Pruett. Mr. Wild, your 2-minute opening statement. You need to, there you go.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Wild, and I'm the current mayor of the city of Westland. And I too would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum tonight. I'm 53 years old. This is my hometown, and it's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as mayor of my hometown. My wife and I, Sherry, we've been married for 21 years. Sherry's a teacher in the Wayne Westland School District. We both graduated from John Glenn, and I don't think either one of us thought back at John Glenn that I was going to grow up and be the mayor of my hometown. So it's something that I'm very proud of. It's something that I take the responsibility very serious. And as serving as your mayor, we've been through a lot together. We've been through, since I took over as mayor, we've worked together to work through the recession. And we're working, I think, as well as any city in Michigan to get through the current coronavirus pandemic. I've had the honor of serving as your full-time mayor for the last 14 years. Prior to that, I served in the city council for 6 years, and I served in the planning commission for 2 years. So I have the experience. I have a very talented team in place, and we're continuing to make progress. We have lots of plans for the upcoming year. You're gonna see the city, we're gonna be putting in bike paths for the first time. We're gonna be creating the city's first dog park. We're going to be creating a pickleball court. We're taking a look at the vacant Marshall School, about turning it into a recreation center as part of a partnership with the YMCA. So we have lots of great ideas. We'll talk more about some of the accomplishments and some of our goals for moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wild. Ms. Green, if you could unmute and give us your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you very much. My name is Tasha Green, and I am running for the position of mayor of the city of Westland. I currently serve as a Westland City Councilwoman, having been elected in 2017 as the first African-American woman to serve on Westland City Council. A little bit about me. I am a devoted mother. I'm also a small business owner. My background is in construction and property management. Also managing large teams as well as budgeting, repositioning failed communities to cash flow, and several other talents that I have had in my 21 years of corporate business experience. In addition to that, I am a Wayne County Reserve Sheriff Deputy, and as of tonight, I officially graduate the 2021 class of the FBI Citizens Academy. I am running for mayor because I believe, based on the feedback that I have gotten from the residents and also from my 4 years on city council, being able to see local government operations up close, that our city needs a change. and that change needs to happen up top. Westland has a slogan for being called the compassionate city, but there are several residents in our community who don't realize what that slogan means. There are several areas in our city that do not realize the financial and economic development that other areas of our city realizes. And the community needs a change because after 14 years, there is a necessity for every area and every voice of our city to not only be recognized, but to be included in the governingship of the city of Westland. And I'm asking for your vote to make me the next mayor, Tasha Green. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Green. Mr. Beier, your 2-minute opening.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters as well for hosting this and recording it for later viewing. Well, a little bit of background about myself. I'm a Westland resident, born and raised. I went through our school system. The only time I ever left Westland was for my tour in the Navy, where I did 4 years, came out as an E5. And within the military, I was put in charge of a rotating budget of about $5 million. And when I took over that spot, the accuracy rating of that was about 50%. At the end of my little shift in that position, I was able to restore that up to 95% accuracy. I'm asking the citizens of Westland to vote for me because throughout my time in Westland, I've seen Westland go downhill, especially in the 4 years that I left. It seems like a completely different city than when I left and came back. Schools closing, residents leaving, and all these empty buildings everywhere, a plethora. We've grown to become like a stigma of not Westland, but wasteland. And I want to repair that. But not just me, I want the residents to be involved. All of your input, because that's what matters. It's not a certain group of individuals. It's about you. Thank you, and I hope for your vote. Daniel Beier.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. You'll now get more chances to talk about your own aspirations for the city. Mr. Pruett, we're going to start this first question with you. Why are you running? Describe your qualifications and experience for this office and explain your reasons for running.
Thank you for the question. I'm running for office because the community wants change. The community has been voicing their opinions on the lack of transparency, the lack of accessibility, the lack of accountability for quite some time. The fiscal responsibility that should be demonstrated has not been demonstrated. There's been placation with words. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Anytime that we have a government who moves according to their own personal agendas, who moves according to their own political ambitions, they make decisions that are in their best interest and not the residents. And the community needs someone who is just like them, who will stand toe-to-toe against any injustice and stand for them. I have been advocating for the community for quite some time. And last year during the pandemic, a better Westland came into fruition. And we've been advocating for human rights and civil rights to be respected. Many things that have been put in place now, like the Diversity Commission, as well as the Diversity Director, has been mentioned and positioned from the residents, taken claim by this current administration. We have to stand in a position where we support the residents, elevate the residents and their voices and include them. I have 20 years of experience in operations and leadership. Through that course of action, what I've been able to do is add more money to the bottom line, standardize and streamline processes and procedures, think of innovative ways to make sure that the workforce is in the right position to excel. And so in this moment where we stand, we must make sure that we have the right person in place, and I am that right person.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. Mr. Weil?
The same question, Paula?
Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yeah, would you please? Thank you.
Sure. Why are you running? Describe your qualifications and experience for this office and explain your reasons for running.
Okay. So I'm running because there's still lots of work to do in the city of Westland. I'm proud of the accomplishments that my team has been able to put together since 2007. And we have a talented team in place. I've had 15 balanced budgets in a row. We've grown our city's surplus from, it was as low as $200,000 to now it's over $6 million. I know firsthand what it takes to run a city the size of Westland. It takes hard work, it takes talent, it takes a team, and you have to have management abilities. You have to have the ability to manage something this size. Westland's a diverse city, and it's something that we're proud of our diversity. We're working on becoming a more welcoming city. We're working on hiring a more diverse workforce that reflects the community that we serve. And at the end of the day, the thing that I know the most is that Westland residents, they want a mayor that can deliver results. And we've done that in my tenure here. We've remediated Central City Park. We built a new city hall. We've built a new fire station. We've built a farmer's market. We opened up a community center in the historic Norwayne district. My neighborhood makeover program has done investments in all 50 cities, all 50 of the neighborhoods throughout this city. We've got the results. We've got a proven team in place, and we're ready to continue leading. Westland's going to be receiving $26 million from the American Recovery Act, and it's my plan to strategically utilize those funds to reinvest in our community, the people that live here, the businesses that live here, and make transformational investments to move our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wild. Ms. Green?
Thank you. I just want to apologize for the movement in the background. I'm actually at my ceremony to graduate the FBI Citizens Academy, so I apologize for the movement. I am running because the community has outcried time and time again about a desire for change in the office of the mayor. There has also been an ongoing outcry of people feeling left out of some of the advancements that our city speaks about. Being a mayor or being in office as a public servant is not just about having a title. I'm running because I am going to serve the residents as a resident. There needs to be change that is representative of the citizens of Westland. And when those changes are made, that they are not bulldozed over the desires of our masses in population. And in many instances, decisions are made that put our residents at a severe disadvantage. And what is best for the interest of our residents is most commonly not considered. My background consists of more than 20 years of corporate business experience. I am an internationally accredited property manager. I am an associate real estate broker. I have extensive background in budgeting, managing large teams, risk management, marketing, human resources, et cetera, et cetera. I have a proven track record of taking communities that were not performing and repositioning them to perform. As a city councilwoman, I have had many triumphs while on office serving in city council as a city councilwoman that are reflective of the actions that a mayor would have exuded. For example, the creation of Westland's very first diversity commission was something that I brought to the city, bringing thousands of pounds and boxes of food to the residents, road repavement, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Ms. Green. You'll have plenty of time coming up. Mr. Beier.
Yep. Thank you. So as I said, in the military, I had all the budgeting experience. I was also in charge of, at the greatest point in my military career, a team of 200 people. And with that, we were able to redo all of the spaces within our division up to, what was it? Above excellent on their grading, which was amazing because we were getting just satisfactories through all of our spaces. On top of this, the frivolous spending in our budget and just in our city is just ridiculous. And when I started to pay attention to this was really alarming, especially with our millage rates. We can't continue like this. People need to be accountable. We need to use, I'm also Lean Six Sigma trained, and we need to utilize these principles. We need to cut the waste through all of the administration, streamline all the processes, and then give back to the residents. And by giving back, I mean, we need to incorporate community programs that will attract younger families to the area. So that way, hopefully they will enroll their children in our school system, which will also help bolster them and give them more of a budget. And then by doing that, it should also snowball into attracting more businesses, as businesses love being around younger families because younger families spend. With that being said, I'm mainly running on fiscal responsibility and to give back to the community and to attract families and fill up these buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wild, we'll start this next question with you. What are the priority issues facing Westland, and how would you address them if elected?
So as we move into the new year, the new calendar year, our biggest issue currently is still coming out of the pandemic, and we've done a great job of working to vaccinate our residents. But we're going to move into the phase of kickstarting our local economy. And when I talked earlier about reinvesting those American Recovery Act dollars, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to obviously utilize some of that to continue managing the pandemic and replacing unrealized revenue in our budget. But we're going to start investing those dollars into transformational projects that will help build a stronger recovery. We're going to focus heavily on recreation with my idea of turning the vacant Marshall school into a new modern recreational asset. Will actually be located right in the middle of the city, so it'll be perfectly situated for everybody to use. The building was actually slated to be demolished at a cost of $1.6 million to the school district, so we're going to be able to save those dollars. I'm going to be focusing a lot on trying to transition our local economy away from dependence on retail. We know that the mall is been on a slow decline for a long time. We're master plan that area with the thought that it would be our future city center. We're going to continue those efforts. We're going to continue our efforts to redevelop the former City Hall site, and we're going to double down on our efforts to fill vacant buildings with vibrant businesses and community assets.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you. There are several priorities that I believe the city of Westland currently faces. One of those priorities would be to increase the manpower in our public safety department. There was a time when our police department had on average nearing or well over 120 officers. We currently have 79 officers in what used to be, prior to the most recent census, the 10th largest city in the state of Michigan. Just recently, myself and another councilman heavily advocated and basically forced the city into hiring one officer this year. Every year when the budget is done, we get statements about that we don't have enough money for police officers, but we have money for frivolous spending in our budget. Another priority for the city of Westland is that residents, that the oversight of our city across the board should be reflective of the demographics of our area. The current administration is currently a 19-member cabinet. There is not one African-American serving on that cabinet. Although minorities average about 30% of Westland's population. And so in addition to creating the diversity commission that I champion in the city of Westland, looking for opportunities outside of election season to actually have a true administration that is reflective of our city and that welcomes diversity racially and across the board, regardless of age, sexual preference, etc. In addition to that, there is nothing much for youth in our city to do. As my time winds down, looking intentionally to create opportunities for youth enjoyment in our city and also the backfilling of vacant buildings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Mr. Beier?
Could you repeat the question real fast?
Sure. What are the priority issues facing Westland and how would you address them if elected?
Okay, I'm just going to encompass all of my issues into one big one, and that's the stigma that Westland is now wasteland, and that cannot hold true. I love this city, and aspects that go into that I've gathered from the residents is public safety, as mentioned, businesses, empty buildings, the younger families leaving the area, and the frivolous spending. And I believe that the public safety, the businesses and younger families attracted to this area could all be encompassed by the fixing the frivolous spending and giving back to the community in ways such as like the fence over at Central City Park, replacing that with a big like cement wall and then outsource local artists to paint a mural in the middle. That will help attract younger families, which will bolster businesses. And for public safety, I would like to do more community outreach, such as like coffee with a cop. I would also like to partner with our local school system and revamp the DARE program, where instead of harping on drugs, we're harping on police interactions. Show younger children that police officers are there for their protection, not to hurt them, not to harm them, not to scare them. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. Mr. Pruett?
Thank you for the question. Our number one priority issue in Westland is having the wrong leadership. Currently, we have it streamlines down through every aspect of what of the decisions that need to be made. Human rights is one of the areas under there. Voice of the community, as well as fiscal responsibility. Our number one focus should be the interests of the community, and we must be transparent. We must intentionally seek out the residents. We must intentionally include them in our process and procedures, and everything that we do must be surrounding them. Human rights. Last year during George Floyd's, when we had George Floyd's death and there were protests, we also had a situation that was exposed where a African-American resident, Mr. Beier, was brutalized by a police officer. That demonstrates that there is a hiring practice issues, and it was hidden. And so the accountability and transparency was not there. We have to be open, and we have to say when we are wrong. The community will look at us and see that we have something that we can instill if we provide solutions with accountability and acceptance of where we fail. Fiscal responsibility, we got to cut the waste and the fat. The government is just too big, and there's too many positions out there for what's needed for the government to run.
Thank you. Ms. Green, we'll start this next question with you. The COVID-19 pandemic caught almost everyone off guard. Knowing what we know now, what plans should Westland put in place to prepare for the next possible catastrophe?
Westland should create a emergency response plan, and not just for a COVID-19, but for anything of a terrorist attack, a mass outage that takes place in our area, and several anything of the like. When COVID happened, our response was to wait on the federal government. I personally, as a city councilwoman, had senior citizen buildings, senior citizens directly contacting me. They didn't have masks. They were terrified. Before the government stepped in and offered the help, there were food shortages. You couldn't find a roll of tissue. And I remember when Westland distinctively got $657,000 when the money finally came in from the federal government. The announcement to the residents did not immediately happen. It was a 4-week delay after we got that money, which I ended up doing an 11,000 Westland resident robocall to inform the residents that we did have funding and that they could start calling City Hall to get help, because those type of decisions come out directly out of the mayor's office, which is another reason why I believe change is necessary. It was at that time that the administration took steps to assist residents. And so I think we need to partner with law enforcement, government agencies. We need to invest dollars in employee training. And so that if something happens, we are right out in front of it. There were mayors in other cities doing home deliveries. I was doing doorstep deliveries with face masks. We need to take an aggressive approach and be proactive versus reactive. And that's what I will do as the next mayor of Westland. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beier?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that we need to make a shift to proactive over reactive leadership. And this entails in the regards for COVID, like an emergency fund. I don't believe that we can plan for every single catastrophe. We can't have plans for all of that, but we should have the resources available to encompass the majority of disasters that could occur. Also, residents informed, as mentioned. Canton gave out flyers about the rental assistance, mortgage assistance, everything. I didn't get anything. I found out online like a few months later. That just blows my mind, because the majority of our residents are like elderly or a little older. So not all of them are on Facebook. Not all of them are aware of the assistance available if it's only put out in a digital manner. We need to get printers or printed flyers out there, even if it's attached to the water bill. That's completely fine. Let's see. We also need to make sure that our law enforcement, such as firefighters, paramedics, and police officers, are trained to respond for these emergency situations, such as having masks on hand and everything in case like another pandemic breaks out and then they have to travel around. I know that that was an issue with serving warrants and stuff during this pandemic. I think that we can do better.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett?
Thank you again for the question. I echo the comments on proactive over reactive. This current government seems to work in reactivity, and we cannot afford to continue to do that. One additional thing that this government does, this current administration, is they're extremely silent. They're silent on the important things. Many different issues, even as recent as the police shooting, or the shooting, excuse me, not the police shooting, the shooting that occurred at the bowling alley. This government was silent. We need to have the community informed. They need to have a direct line to know what's happened. We need an open government that is proactive. And when we look at plans, we need to have a team or a person who heads up this idea. And I am going to implement, when I am elected mayor, a community engagement and crisis prevention management and diversion director. Not only does that director deal with crisis in a preventative, in a management, and a diversion component, it also cuts away wasteful spending. So we are able to save by combining these executive directors into one department up to about $500,000. We have to be reactive so that our community can see the results that are necessary, that we aren't just moving when it's politically damaging to us. We have to walk in integrity. And when we are proactive, we save money. And so the community is expecting change and is expecting a new course of action, and a new director will be the best course forward.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. Mr. Weil?
So I have to tell you that I'm extremely proud of the city's response to the pandemic. And I can tell you that I don't think that there was a city in Michigan, a city in America, a city in the country, or across the nation, or even across the world that was prepared for a worldwide pandemic of this nature. So I think we saw breakdowns at just about all levels of government, but actually at the end of the day, I'm very proud of Westland. Once the federal government got their act together with the state and the county got involved, I think Westland was at the forefront of the pandemic. I'm extremely proud of our police and firefighters. Our police department is one of only 6 agencies in the state of Michigan that's CALIA certified. Our firefighters are extremely well trained. Our firefighters actually stepped in as soon as we could actually get vaccinations and started offering vaccinations in people's houses for the oldest residents in our community. And they've continued to do that. So I think that all of us learned a lot from it. We certainly have a stronger relationship with the Wayne County Health Department than we probably have ever needed before. So I think that all of us are better suited for the next pandemic. But as far as there was an emergency, our departments are well trained. We're part of regional response teams, and we've got the leadership in place. And I'll put our record responding to the pandemic again, just about any city in the state of Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. Wild. Mr. Beier, we'll start this next question with you. What would you do to encourage development, new development, redevelopment, or investment in Westland?
So my main idea to encourage this is to revitalize the empty buildings around here. And how I do that is through a scalable property tax incentive that will scale dependent upon how long the building's been empty. Since I know that there's a plethora of buildings around here that have been empty for 20 some years, I believe that they should probably get like 1-year property tax incentive if they revitalize their property. That way we can help our local business owners beautify the area, which also helps the city in general through appearance. I also believe that we need to advocate for, in this example is with the coronavirus issue, some local businesses had to shut down the entire time. I think that we need to advocate to ensure that they will not be charged property tax interest because of government mandated shutdown, especially when they make like 70% of their revenue during the time that they were shut down. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett?
Thank you. Do you mind repeating the question for me, please?
Sure. What would you do to encourage new development, redevelopment, and investment in Westland?
Fantastic. And that's a broad range. It's businesses, it's also living arrangements as well, realtors and home owners as well. I plan to implement a development plan, which is called the Revive, Revitalize, and Re-engage Development Plan. It is a strategic and welcoming business plan, also a community economic plan as well. With this plan, it is to re-engage with business owners. For instance, the mall, it has gone down, and to re-engage with those business owners there, as well as using innovative approaches to revive businesses that have been shuttered, using direct conversation with the business owners and even nonprofits to see where we can work together to fill the spaces so that the business owners aren't losing money. But at the end of the day, we have to have a focused plan that does revive, that does revitalize, that does re-engage. We have to be a community that others look to emulate. Too many times people look at Livonia and say, Livonia's doing this, nobody's doing this, Canton's doing this. What about Westland? Westland needs to be, I'm doing this in Westland, and everyone else says, I'm jumping on board because Westland's doing it. They're leading the way. Too long we have been behind the curve, and for 14 years the trajectory is going downhill. We have to focus on our businesses. We have to focus on our community. We have a beautification commission that is empty. The compassionate committee is empty. Compassionate city. We have to change this and put the focus where it needs to be.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. Mr. Wild?
So as I said earlier, Westland's our challenge is going to be is transforming away from a local economy that was built on retail. Westland was created after the Westland shopping mall was sited here back in 1965, and we built a retail local economy. So we've been working hard on that as retail and shopping habits have changed I don't have to tell anybody on this call tonight that more people buy stuff online than at any time ever before. So we're being creative. You're seeing us move away from retail. We're proud of a $20 million investment by US Fairthane in their manufacturing plants on Ford Road, which is creating 100 new jobs and building parts for the new Ford Bronco. Garden City Hospital is going to be opening up right after the 4th of July, right next to City Hall in the shop and dine district. It's going to be the city's first 24-hour emergency room. The Grand Westland Banquet's going to open up in the old Fire Mountain restaurant. The Regency of Westland Skilled Nursing Center opened up on a former site of a vacant landscaping company. And you're going to hear us talk in the very near future about hundreds of new homes being built on vacant city of Wayne Westland school sites. So there's a lot going on. It's going to be an ongoing transition away from retail, but we've got the team in place and we've got the skills. We don't have all those exit ramps that Livonia's got, but we make up for that by being business friendly, and nobody can beat us with customer service.
Thank you, Mr. Wild. Ms. Green.
Thank you. I think a major part of encouraging new development, redevelopment, and investment in the city of Westland is going to be a tax incentive program that encourages new businesses to move to the city of Westland. There are so many surrounding metro cities that have a bit more pizzazz than we do. They're closer to major highways. They have a lot more going on in those particular cities, but Westland is in a position to do the same. Westland is not famous for anything, and that's one of the things that I spoke about when I was first elected to city council. When you think of Detroit, you think of the big three. Royal Oak has amazing restaurants with outside music, and so thinking outside of the box and getting away from the archaic, old school type of style of running a city. Also partnering with there's a lot of things that we could actually do for free to teach our residents how to become business owners themselves as it relates to occupying some of the vacant space. The Small Business Administration will teach people how to become entrepreneurs, teach them how to get certified and licensed. Also being proactive about developing some sort of marketing plan right now in the event that we should happen to lose Westland Mall. Every other week, there's discussion about a major department store, the loss happening at Westland Mall, which is really the major location in our city, and it's pretty much a ghost town. So I've actually started having discussions with major organizations that are looking to leave or willing to move their headquarters from other states and create jobs in the city of Westland. So I think being very proactive with that, and if offering incentives, make sure that they guarantee Westland jobs. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Green. Mr. Pruett, you'll respond to this question first. How well is our community meeting the needs of seniors, and what more needs to be done?
Thank you for that question. When I've talked to a number of seniors, while they do have the Friendship Center, their biggest concern is that there's not enough leisure. And a lot of times it's actually amazing that they are talking about our youth. They'd love to see more of our youth with leisure activities. We do have some things to do, but this community is not a family-friendly, youth-friendly community. Many people leave the community and go to Canton, Plymouth, and Novi to do things. It's time that those things change, and our seniors, they have continuously spoken on this. It's so amazing. This community is always looking out for one another, and the seniors are looking out for the youth, and the youth are looking out for the seniors. And so we just have to be a community that is looking out for one another, having forums where they have ease of access to the mayor, that the silencing of community members ceases. When we access the brilliance of Westland, all of our amazing residents what we find is there's these innovative ideas to move us away from this antiquated thinking, this antiquated way of governing. We have to move into a way that taps into this brilliance so that we get the full potential of what Westland can be into actuality. And again, the seniors, they constantly speak on having the ability to have more leisure activities and not just what you have to pay for at the Friendship Center.
Thank you. Mr. Wild?
So Westland's facing, like a lot of other cities across the nation, is we have an aging population that wants to stay in the city that they live in. We're seeing seniors more and more that are staying in Westland their whole life, even though that their children have moved on. Westland has always done a really good job of taking care of its seniors. We've always invested. The Friendship Center is one of the places. The Beier Center is another place that Westland seniors use. But we've always invested in senior activities. Even during the recession, we had to make a lot of hard cuts, but we never cut senior services because our seniors they've been here since, most of them since Nankin Township. So moving forward, our seniors, they're more active than ever before. They want access to more activities, more facilities. We think that we'll be able to bring more facilities and activities for our seniors at the Marshall Center if we're able to develop it into the Recreation Center. We've invested in all of our parks, all of our walking paths. We're making the city a more walkable city. We're looking at ways to get people outside. We're going to be putting in bike paths for the first time. So the city, I think, has done a good job over the years for our seniors. But at the end of the day, there's more seniors now than ever before. So part of our plan is with residential development is building this new missing middle housing for our seniors, so that while they may not want the big house in the neighborhood anymore, they want to stay in the community. So that's going to be something that we're going to be looking at moving forward as well.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you. Westland does have programs for seniors, as Mayor Wild stated. We do have two senior centers, the Friendship and the Beier Center. One of the issues with those particular locations, though, is that they are more so on the northern side of the city. Westland is a 20 square mile city, and we have a lot of seniors who do not drive. So seniors who either drive or still comfortable driving, or they live in that area, it's very convenient to stop over there. However, we have residents who live on the outskirts of our city and those who choose not to drive any longer, and they are not able to enjoy those resources. We also have a lot of seniors who need food. I just this summer or this spring, and actually going into the summer, giving away thousands of boxes of food, and the majority of the people showing up to receive those fresh food boxes were senior citizens. And so Westland actually needs to develop programs that honors our seniors more, not just senior centers, but incentive programs that will assist them in the areas that they need to make sure that they have food if they need it. If they are low income and cannot pay their water bill, programs that actually take help to the people. We have a large percent of our senior citizens in Westland who actually are on Section 8 vouchers in very nice fixed income communities. And you would never know that those residents are receiving housing assistance due to income issues. And so I think increasing transportation issues here in the city and developing programs that offer resources for them to live a fulfilling and comfortable life in our city without being shamed for not having or simply going without is one of the things that some of the things that I will do as the mayor of Westland. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beier?
Yep, thank you. So as mentioned, I believe that leisure has been brought up a lot through my conversations as well. And I believe that this, from my conversations at least with local residents, they were referring not to leisure as in what can they go out and do, but more something to attract their grandchildren to the area. Something that bolsters them to like get them out of the house, attract their family to the area, instead of them always having to go to their family's house or just never really seeing them because there's nothing in the immediate area to do. So with that being said, like, we need to start looking at the mall. Like, it's dying, and that used to be a huge thing for a lot of our local seniors. Mall walking was big, and now the mall is sort of it's a little sketch, to say the least. Ever since the shooting, I've heard that our seniors are a little worried to go in there, which makes sense. I mean, also, I believe that we need to explore, after we attract younger families to the area, we need to explore ways to lower millage rates, or at least freeze them. That way our seniors are not getting higher tax rates because they're on a fixed income. And as stated, our population is rising and they're all retired. We need to be able to support them. That way they don't have financial problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. Mr. Wild, we'll start this next question with you. What steps, if any, should be taken to curb gun violence in Westland?
We've been very fortunate in Westland is that when you take a look at our crime stats over the last several years, is our crime stats have actually been trending down. We have an occasional issue with guns like other communities, and you can turn on the news at 6 o'clock and in these communities, you're going to see an occasional problem. The one thing that I can tell you about our police department is that whenever we've had situations like that in the past, I put our police departments catch the bad guys numbers against anybody. Our crime rates are going down when you take a look at them. I mean, those come out from the FBI, and we put those on our transparency page. Our police officers, we have a great narcotics team that works to keep narcotics under control in the city of Westland. So, I know at the national level, there's a lot of talk on guns and access to guns, and the mayor of Dayton is actually going to be taking over as the mayor of the Conference of Mayors president. So she'll be pushing that even harder following some of the issues in Dayton. But at the end of the day in Westland, I think that we've done a good job of that. I credit our police chief, Jeff Jedrusik, and his police force for the work that they've done.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you. There's several avenues that we can take to curb gun violence to the best of our ability, of course. Some cities saw success with local buyback programs that did not have any stigma or possibility of arrest related to those. Education is a big one. We don't really have that in the city. We don't have true gun violence education happening in our city. We've had roundtable discussions, but it's just not reaching the demographic that it should. The people who show up to those meetings are really the people who are against crime. We have to establish and develop programs to go to the areas in the community where the crime is happening and not be afraid to have a conversation with these people and not looking at them and treating them as if they are all criminals, because that's typically the type of response you get when you stereotype people or you just ignore them until a situation happens. I think increasing police patrol is actually going to play a large role in curbing not only gun violence, but violence. And so that is one of the reasons that I will take the step as mayor to increase the manpower on the police force, because our 79 officers can only do so much with the staff that we have, the size that we have. So bringing in additional manpower to help patrol the communities, developing and hiring more community police officers who are coming directly from those neighborhoods, who know those people, who know what's going on, I think will all play integral roles in us collectively curbing gun violence in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beier?
Yep, thank you. So I believe that we could curb this with more like boots on the ground. But as mentioned, we need more police officers out there. just somebody to do like community outreach. Maybe just drive through neighborhoods. Maybe during the summer, get out, ride your bike through neighborhoods, go up, talk to the local residents if you see them mowing and everything. But hit the areas where crime is slightly higher than others. That way it shows a police presence to curb it. And it also shows our residents not to be scared if they encounter police officers. I also think that education within the school system should try to be pushed as well. And this is something that I would like to incorporate with like that revamped DARE program I was talking about earlier. But I don't think that we'll ever be able to curb 100% of gun violence, but we can inform the community and show them that we are actively trying and show them that we're on their side. We'll be out there and they'll know that we're there if we increase the presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett?
Thank you for the question. I am completely foundational. When it comes to solving the problems of Westland, it comes back to foundation. For example, if you have patchwork on the roads, you usually have patchwork everywhere. So to curb gun violence, we really have to take a deep dive. The first place is to have a government that stops being silent. We must be transparent and open in truth and integrity and stop keeping our mouth closed when there are issues and trying to make it look like it's better than it actually is. The next course of action, connecting with the community all around. When we create a total environment of community connectivity, we have better relations and better outcomes occur. One component that I do want to see occur, which will be implemented, is changing police officers from police officers to peace officers, which that's what they actually are. Moving it away from a law enforcement focused entity to a law enforcement description where the focus is getting out and connecting with the community. Bike patrols, like was mentioned, walking patrols, as well as just connecting in different ways that aren't just events. When we have, and hiring as well, hiring more police officers and getting them out there. When we have more police officers who are supported in this dangerous job that they're doing, if we have more police officers out there, people who do crime will do less crime. They won't even want to.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. Ms. Green, this next question is for you. What kinds of policies, if any, will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our community?
One policy that I look forward to championing as the new mayor is to allow Westland residents to elect their own local prosecutor. Currently, the city of Westland has a city attorney and a city prosecutor that serves a dual role. And we pay the city prosecutor / city attorney almost $1 million a year to serve in that role. In my opinion, lucrative appointments of that magnitude encourage loyalty to the people or person who is signing their check as opposed to the community. And Westland residents should be electing their own prosecutor as other cities have done. And I look forward to changing our charter or whatever steps have to be taken in the city of Westland to allow the voice of the people to be the loudest voice. The mayor should not be deciding who the prosecutor is in the city of Westland. Another, some of the other changes that I'm going to make is swift policy changes in internal city operations. The resolution that I authored to declare racism a public health crisis in the city of Westland actually required the city of Westland to incorporate anti-racism principles into its hiring practices, its city contracting, employee education, and other areas. And that birthed the creation of the diversity commission that Westland currently has today. And so there are several internal policies that have to be made to get away from the status quo and this is the same old, and actually bring the community into City Hall and so that we can govern this, co-govern together, as opposed to us creating rules that we're comfortable with, but that the community does not benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beier?
Thank you. First off, I would like to advocate for yearly training when it goes in regards to social and racial justice. This is already done at my school, U of M, and it should be mandatory for every city employee, I believe, especially at this day and age. I would also like to advocate for a division of Westlands, so that way each section of Westland can vote in their own council member. That way it's truly representative of that area. Since South or Norwayne, it seems like a lot of our current administration lives in a certain area of Westland. And I don't think that that's representative of what each area needs. I think that we need to break that up and get the whole community involved, really. Because if I live way north, I'm not going to know what South Westland needs. I'm not over there every day. I'm not living over there. And I would like to advocate for that as well. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett?
So in regards to social and racial justice, it comes back to a bigger piece. A lot of things that have occurred are very systematic and they're systemic as well. They're very covert issues. And it's not just racial injustice that occurs. We have injustice occurring across socioeconomic lines with different beliefs as well. And we have to have a focused effort to make sure that we are attacking the problem at the root so that we get to a finish point and a completion that actually successfully moves the bar forward. 14 years, this could have been done, but it hasn't. And right now, I believe that we need to work into a broader capacity with a human rights commission. What we know about commissions is they are advise the mayor. And too many times these commissions go into place and they're just like a coffee table book. They're just there to say, I've done something, but they're not listened to and the work is not done. So we need a real commission with real meat that does the work and is honored for the work that they do. We need to appoint a new city attorney to take an innovative approach at justice. And we need to review all process and procedures, all policies, and make sure they're in alignment with modernizing the city in totality.
Thank you. Mr. Wild?
First of all, on social and racial justice, first of all, I'll talk on the prosecution piece. Michigan cities do not elect prosecutors. County government has elected prosecutors. I can tell you the last thing the city of Westland needs right now is another politician that's working for the city. I'm proud of the work that our city attorney does, and we've been fortunate in our community to have good city attorneys. Part of what, and the city attorneys are actually appointed by the city council. They're not appointed by the mayor. The city attorneys that we hire, they do perform prosecution for the city. About 2/3 of their budget, except in the past year with COVID, would cover prosecution. We've had prosecutors in the past. Actually, a couple of our most recent prosecutors are now district court judges, so they're extremely talented. I can tell you that our major focus, this is building off the city council. I know the city council is fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we've seated the city's first DEI commission. The council just approved my budget, which includes funding for the city's first director of DEI, which will help the city's welcoming and equity strategies. We've just launched a dashboard at the police department now that's fully transparent as far as arrest and citation data. The police department has just augmented their patrols with a domestic violence advocate that's working out of the station. We're taking a look at bringing in some contracted social workers to help us. And I'm committed to working with the city council, the Westland Police Department, and the community to see the Citizens Police Review Board as well.
Thank you. Mr. Beier, we'll start this next question with you. Do you support additional marijuana dispensaries in Westland?
Thank you. I do. And that is plainly for the fact of attracting younger families as well. I believe that Westland needs businesses. This is the new hip thing. And I think that we were reactive on this. Once again, we were not proactive. we're just now going to get like some of our first dispensaries, but all that tax revenue we missed out on in the very beginning. So I believe that this is a good thing. It also, I'm a Navy veteran, and there's a lot of veterans that use medical marijuana to replace their PTSD drugs. And I believe that I fully back that. After talking to a lot of my friends and everything, you could tell a difference when they get off their meds and make the switch. So with that being said, I fully support it.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett?
Yes, and I'm going to address that question, but because I was corrected incorrectly, I want to address the charter states that the mayor appoints and the city council approves. As far as more marijuana dispensaries, I do agree with that. I do not believe that they should be all placed in one area like was recently approved. I think that when they are placed, they need to be strategic around the city so that people have access to it and it's not crowding up one area of our city.
Thank you. Mr. Wild?
So I would say that it's a fair statement that Westland was not proactive on marijuana. And I can tell you that I'm glad that we weren't, because I think that we took a very measured approach to it. And this has been a problematic implementation in our city and other cities as well. When you talk about the marijuana licenses that we've approved, we went through the process and we received over 30 applications for 8 potential licenses. We went through the process and we got through the other end of it. And before we could issue the first license, we're already in court, which seems to be the way that the industry works. If you're awarded a license, you're happy. And if you're not, then you sue the city and hope for the best. When you talk about where they are placed, it's very simple. The city council and administration, we worked together on creating an ordinance, and based on the ordinance that was created, that they're only allowed in certain areas, and they may seem clustered, but it's because of the restrictions that were put in place during the creation of the ordinance. What is the right number? I'm not sure that we know that. I do look forward to the development of these projects, because there are going to be some very nice projects. Most of them are going to be on properties that have not been developed before or that are hard to develop. So it will be new taxable revenue for the city. And our citizens, they overwhelmingly supported it. And the city council was 7-0 in support of creating an ordinance, and I supported it as well. So it's something that we're looking forward to moving forward on, hopefully sometime later this year.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Thank you. Yes, I support marijuana in the city of Westland, and as a voter in the state of Michigan, I actually voted in support of recreational marijuana. As a city councilwoman, though, I was not able to support the marijuana ordinance because for several reasons. One being that several city council people actually polled the community, and residents overwhelmingly asked the city of Westland not to allow those buildings to be set up 250 feet from their homes. Now, there are other cities that were far more conservative. I believe Ann Arbor had a commercial space only. There were cities that required at least a 1,000 feet distance from homes. And in the city of Westland, residents asked their elected officials not to allow the placement to be 250 feet. The mayor and the majority of council who I digress. Anyway, they just basically bulldozed over the residents. They said they wrote the ordinance to put it up 250 feet from their homes anyway. And in areas that no elected official would be impacted by. None of us lived near those areas where those facilities would be set up at. There was also residents who lived nearest to the commercial areas. They asked about the concern with traffic and things. And again, the city council and the mayor did not take their feelings into consideration. And as a mayor and an elected official, I will not ignore the voice of the people when I manage and govern our city. And so I was not able to support it because I stand with the residents first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Mr. Pruett, we'll start this next question with you. How will you consider climate change and other environmental issues in economic development?
While there has been a lot of focus on being green, as well as having new innovative approaches to, or more so talk about it, there have been some things that have been put in place. But I think as we move to a more technologically advanced society in Westland, and things stop being so antiquated and we invest in technology, the types of things that we put in place will meet those standards and meet those needs. We must make sure we're doing what's necessary and right for the community. And when we have contracts for recycling, and when we have contracts for trash, that we are entering into contracts that are reasonable, that are done with integrity, that aren't wasteful. Because with climate change, if we are misusing the money, then we don't have money to go forth and do more. We have to be strategic in this. And it's owed to us to take steps to be greener. And it's owed to the community and our generations in front of us, our children and our grandchildren, and our grandchildren's children, to make sure we're taking the right steps now, and not just to showcase, like I said earlier, as a coffee table book. We have to do things that are truly done, that aren't wasteful, that actually make a dent in the climate issues that have been occurring. And most of all, we have to make sure that we have the funds available through responsible fiscal responsibility, making sure that we have those funds available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. Mr. Wild?
So I do believe that with the current administration in Washington, that there is going to be a major focus on climate control. And I think the way it's going to affect us at the cities is through infrastructure investments moving forward. Westland, one of the first things I did after I became mayor was created what I call my Mission Green Initiative. And when we kicked off our curbside recycling program citywide, and we've never looked back. We just issued a sustainability report with a combination of all the different sustainability initiatives that we've done since 2007, which is available on the city's website. But we've done a lot. Besides car charging stations that are there, we have one in front of City Hall, and we have 4 more that are on the way. We've converted every street light in the city from mercury vapor to new low cost LED lights. We've actually taken the savings from the LED lights, and we've actually been able to purchase and put up more lights throughout the city. We're continuing to invest in recycling. Right now, the city's drop-off recycling site is going through a major makeover, and it'll probably be one of the nicest drop-off centers in the area. So I believe that climate change is going to be affected at the local level. It's going to take cities to make, every city is going to have to do what they can. Westland, I think, has been a little bit ahead of the curve. Is how that rolls into economic development for the future will probably depend on what type of subsidies, at least in the beginning, that the federal government is going to pass along to the state and the locals.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you. Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How will you consider climate change and other environmental issues in economic development?
I currently sit on the SIMCOG Regional Review Committee, and the Regional Review Committee is the committee within SIMCOG, which is the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, that determines what type of grant funding each individual city and the Metro Detroit area will receive. So, looking for programs and grant funding, which will actually save us money in terms of our bottom line, funding that we could actually invest in terms of just getting out ahead of some of the issues that we all face with climate control. Also, going back to having a proactive plan in the event that there are any type of disasters relative to weather. Some of the states on the West Coast, they saw their highways turn into what looked like beaches. And so, you never can tell if we get hit with a lot of rainwater or rainfall or whatever the situation, having a proactive emergency response plan in place so that we don't have to outsource a lot of the contractor work that we do in the city of Westland. We outsource millions annually in contractor work alone, and also looking for grant opportunities that will assist our city in the area of climate change and save us on our bottom dollar. Thank you.
Mr. Beier.
Thank you. So as mentioned, I do believe that the federal government's gonna have a huge infrastructure push, and then that'll give Westland a chance to sort of play catch up from my perspective. With the regards to the lighting change, I believe that there's gonna be a waste incurred in the aspect of man hours, because with a big push, I believe that all of our lights will be swapped over to solar power, at least with a backup. I believe that the city hall, the current city hall, we could have built that a little better, more eco-friendly, such as Farmington Hills did with their city hall. I would also like to push for smart roads throughout Westland. And this would create tech jobs, and we'll probably be able to partner with Ford and the big three with this as well. So that way we could test autonomous through our city. That would also attract younger families to the area and more businesses. In regards to the recycling drop-off, I think that we need to have a push so that way recycling will be just picked up all in one. We need to revisit this contract because as people are driving to the drop-off zone, that's going to create emissions because not everybody has switched over to electric vehicles. And then we're still getting the emissions from the pickup garbage trucks picking up the recycling from our houses as well. So from my perspective, it's incurring two costs of emissions, which sort of negates the whole recycling aspect. And then I also believe in regards to infrastructure, I think that we need to start a plan to address the water waste and just lead pipes as leaking water. Water is becoming a scarce commodity. It's actually now on the futures market in California, which terrifies me. So we need to do everything we can to conserve water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. This will be our last question coming up before our final statements. We'll start with Mr. Wild. Rental properties can be both an asset and a problem in a community. What do you see as some of the benefits or challenges to rental housing in Westland?
So rental housing means a lot of different things to different communities. And right now there's a big push across the state and as far as vacation rentals through Airbnb and the like of that. We don't typically have those issues in the city of Westland. We have rental stock in Westland. One of the ways that we've protected that stock is through a rental inspection program, which was put in place by the previous administration. I have to tell you is that when we came out of the recession, there was a time when we had 40% of our homes in Westland that were vacant, and they were quickly snapped up by a lot of investors. So we had a lot of rentals, but the real estate market in Westland is incredibly hot. So we're starting to see more and more of those rentals turn into full-time ownership. And that's what we've been encouraging. We have programs in place to actually help first-time home buyers and with financing. So we do have areas with rentals still, and through neighborhood ordinance and code enforcement, we've been trying to keep the stock of those houses up. And it's something that I think we have at a manageable number in our city. Other cities have quite a bit more than we do. But it's something that does take up a lot of our time through neighborhood services.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you. I think that Westland has a lot of benefits in terms of housing rentals. Westland actually has a lot of affordable housing in the city of Westland, especially in apartment communities that has allowed for families to stay in our city at rates that they can afford. We also have the housing market is doing extremely well in Westland, as was stated, and homes are selling for rates that young families and even single people can actually afford. I'm seeing a lot of people buying homes who are single, working people who have not yet started a family, and they're able to afford that on one salary. So that is very encouraging in our city because in some cities, they're just pretty much priced out. You're going to pay just to live in that particular city, and it's not always affordable. We also have quite a bit of senior housing in the city of Westland, and I think that's a good thing because we do have a large senior population in the city of Westland. Some of the challenges that I see, as I see it too, rental housing is we're having an uptick in group homes in the city of Westland with investments. There comes, in some instances, opportunities for people to make more money from those homes, and we have people moving into group homes, and then we're getting more and more police calls. There's no law on the books that requires some of these homes to be licensed so that the city knows that they're in place. There is talk of legislation in Lansing that would govern that more closely, and I actually look forward to that. I think it will make our jobs easier when we get complaints. Also, sometimes there is a decline with the upkeep of management from new renters. So, just there are several challenges that come along, but as a whole, I think the city of Westland, our residents take a lot of pride. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beier?
Thank you. So the most recent statistic that I saw about rentals was from 2019, and approximately 40.7% of all Westland homes were rentals by this data that I looked at. So that gives us a lot of benefits. There's a lot of benefits for younger families to move in at a prorated rate compared to mortgages, and it'll increases our diversity really. We become a city that's more accessible. And the challenges, I believe, are just upkeep, either from the tenants destroying the property or the landlord just not keeping it up. I believe that rental inspections should be conducted a little more frequently and a little more in depth. And that we need to hold our landlords a little more accountable for the appearance of their home and the living conditions of our residents. We can't let them just suffer if they have a bad landlord. We need to stick up for the residents, renters or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. Mr. Pruett?
Thank you again for the question. When I look at rental properties, it covers, I believe, even into leases. So rentals, leases, home buyers, as well as business purchases as well, because some are already there. And we must make sure that one of the things that we're talking about was inspections. I believe that we have a problem in Westland with ordinances that are already on the books that aren't even being enforced. I believe that has led to some issues where tenants have run into slumlords, and we must make sure that ordinances are enacted and enforced, and that the slumlords are held to account. We need to make this a place where it is attractive to other folks. We have so many opportunities to attract our different ranges of folks with different cultures and different backgrounds to make Westland that much better. And when they find that it is appealing to them, more people will come. The tax base goes up. And this is why I will implement a plan called the Value Add Plan. It's a value add program. The community invest back into the community. So they invest into their homes. Apartment complexes invest back into their apartment complex. They will be able to have a tax incentive. There are other type of investments that I would like to see occur as well through this value add program, because when the community has spent their life investing in Westland, we need to invest right back into them.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett, and thank you all for your very thoughtful responses to these questions. It's now time to begin the closing statement, and we will go in reverse order. So Mr. Beier, we will ask you to be our first speaker to give your 2-minute closing statement.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you all for hosting this event again. And I'd like to address Westland residents. I'm not a politician. I'm a veteran, a computer engineer, and about to graduate with my master's in software engineering. I noticed an issue in Westland and I decided to step up. I believe that young blood that's never been in politics is the right choice. And I believe that we can restore Westland to its former glory. Not me alone, but us together, as it's the voice of the community that needs to be heard. And I'm willing to represent that voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beier. Ms. Green, your closing statement.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to come in tonight and speak. My name is Tasha Green, and I am asking for your vote as mayor of Westland because I am one of you. During my 4 years on city council, I have developed a reputation of being a fighter for the people, and not by statement alone, but by my actions. I have put my money where my mouth is. During my 4 years, I have never voted against the interests of Westland residents ever on council. And I have been exercise extreme transparency when keeping my colleagues honest and making sure residents knew what is happening in our city. And I would never vote against the interests of myself. When I look at residents, when I look at you, I see myself. And I am asking for your support to make me the next mayor of Westland so that you have someone at the table who's not trying to get rich, who's not bringing in campaign donors to keep the city moving while you do not receive the help that you need when you need it, that you have someone who is willing to help you outside of campaign season. I know what it's like when people say that they're living check to check. I have experienced that. I know what it's like to be a single mom. I know what it's like to go to college at night and work all day. I know what it's also like to take yourself from a bad situation and turn it around with hard work and make it good. And I also know how to manage a large community and make it profit. And I'm asking for your support in the next election so that we can have the change that we really do want and believe and need in the city of Westland. And that is somebody who is just like you, managing on your behalf and keeping you first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Mr. Wild?
Well, thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters tonight for putting on this forum and for your great questions. I think we've really covered a lot of ground here tonight, probably more than we thought we were going to cover. My thing to the West End residents is that once again, it's an honor to serve you as your mayor. I've tried to lead a results-oriented administration since I took office. I'm proud of the progress that we've made. When you look all across the city, we've made progress in just about every area. I'm proud of the police department. I'm proud of our firefighters. I've earned their endorsement in this election. I'm proud of the seniors, the department that we have. We're going to continue to invest in that. It's extremely important that we continue to invest in our neighborhoods. Westland is a bedroom community. That means that we were a community that was built because it's a great place to live. We're going to continue to invest in the neighborhoods. We're going to continue to diversify away from the mall and retail. I'm going to spend more time in this term working with the Wayne Westland schools than I have to date, because I think it's part of our strategy to continue to be a great place to live, work, and play, that we have to have strong schools. And I believe that the schools are on the right track, and I plan on having my administration work with the schools in every manner to make sure that we can deliver the best school districts that we can for our students. With that said, if you'd like to learn more about our campaign, you can follow me on the wildforwestland.com. You can follow us on Facebook. I'm always available on Twitter at Mayor Wild, and it's an honor to serve you, and I ask you tonight for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pruett, your closing statement?
Thank you, Women League of Voters. I really thank you for hosting this event. And Westland, thank you for tuning in and listening, spending your time today. Let's be honest. 14 years we've had an administration that could have done the work. Now they want to do the work. We have to have people in place who are willing from day one to hit the ground running, working 24/7 for you. We have to have a government that is focused on you, that includes you, that puts in process and procedures that protects you and your interests. It's not about the government officials, because this is supposed to be a government for the people, by the people, and with the people. I'm asking for your vote to elect me as your next mayor, because I am the person that will bring the community together and stop talking the talk, but doing the work. We cannot afford that any longer. Too many of you have cried out and called out for change. And when you've called out and cried out for change, it went and fell on deaf ears. They've been silencing you, and it's time that your voice is elevated. You'll see fiscally responsible decisions made. You will see the voice of the community elevated. You will see human rights respected, valued, and preserved. You will see that you are priority one when you elect me as your next mayor. August 3rd, get out and vote. And also, in general, on November 2nd as well. My name is Pastor Edward Pruett. You can contact me at urimportantwestland.org, as well as 734-444-2741. We also have a Facebook page that says Edward Pruett for Westland Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruett. This concludes our forum for this evening. We thank the league members who helped with this forum, Carrie Moon Dupree and Val Nelson, our producer. The forum has been recorded, and hopefully it will be available on our website as early as tomorrow, the 17th, but no later than the 18th of June. Again, that website is lwvnorthwestwayne.org. We also thank the candidates who are running for office. We know this is not easy. The candidates are asking for the support of the voters of Westland as they seek a job in the public service sector. And we sincerely hope that voters will listen to their views and make a responsible choice. We also appreciate the voters of the city of Westland who are watching this forum to learn about their choices on August 3rd. All of these candidates tonight were also invited to participate in the League of Women Voters Voter Guide, our online publication, which can be found at vote411.org. Primary election day is August 3rd. If you are not registered to vote, you can do so up through election day, but within 14 days of the election, registration must be done at the office of the Westland City Clerk. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but all registered voters can vote early by absentee ballot. But remember that you first must fill out and return an application for the absentee ballot to the city clerk before a ballot can actually be mailed to you. If you need an absentee ballot application, contact the Westland City Clerk. This concludes our forum for this evening. Thank you very much, candidates, for participating, and best of luck to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.